Hi doston. So you must have heard about Rajesh Export case. So let's do a deep dive study on Rajesh Export. Why the investigation started? What is Rajesh Export? What is the current status? What all lessons we can learn as investors? What auditors should have done? What regulators should have done? So बहुत मजा आने वाला है. So just stay tuned with me. So first let's understand what is Rajesh Export. Rajesh Export is India's top gold and jewelry companies. It has been reporting hundreds and thousands of crores of revenues, yet the profitability has been very low. And this mismatch became the starting point of investigation for the investor questions. So you know what, Rajesh Export has been India's top firms in terms of revenue volumes. And in 2015, it acquired a company called Verkhambi. It's a Swiss gold refiner company. So let's talk, how did the investigation start? So in 2024, a US-based investor filed a complaint against the company, and the concerns were accounting practices and the mismatched reporting revenues. The case was filed with, of course, with SEBI. A forensic review was therefore commissioned, and this became the starting point of investigation. So part third is, what did SEBI observe? SEBI observed that a significant portion of consolidated revenue originated from overseas entities. Regulator questioned whether certain revenues reported in these accounts were supported by underlying audit records. The company response is, revenues are correctly reported and SEBI has misunderstood the accounting treatment. Observation 2. Verkhambi revenue structure. Verkhambi's core business was refining gold for the customers. SEBI observed that Verkhambi earned refining fees and did not own the underlying gold. Regulator questioned how very large revenue figures were being reflected at group level. The company response is that there is a confusion between sales reporting and revenue reporting. Observation number third. Related transactions. SEBI alleged that some transactions may have been incorrectly recorded as company's transactions. Regulator is examining whether certain promoter-linked transactions were reflected in the company's books. Company response is, company has denied wrongdoing. Observation number 4. Movement of funds. SEBI observed transfers between company accounts and the promoter-linked accounts. Regulator is therefore examining the nature and the purpose of those transactions, and this remains under investigation. Now part 4 is the corporate governance red flags. These are not the proof of wrongdoings, however, there are warning signs investors typically monitor. So red flag number 1 was heavy dependence on a single promoter. SEBI noted that several overseas activities appeared concentrated around one individual. Red flag number 2, limited visibility of overseas operations by senior management. Statements recorded by investigators suggested that key executives may not have had full involvement in overseas activities. Red flag 3, complex international structure. Multiple overseas entities can make independent verification difficult. Red flag 4, very high revenues but very low margins. For many years, revenue was enormous. Profits remained comparatively small. This should have triggered deeper investor scrutiny. Red flag 5, limited investor communication. The company reportedly conducted limited analyst interaction despite its larger scale, and this reduced the transparency for the investors. Now part 5 is, what questions are being raised about the auditors. SEBI here has not concluded a final liability, however certain questions are being raised. So let's talk about those questions. First question, why were unusually low margins compared with massive revenues not highlighted more promptly? Question number 2, were overseas subsidiary revenue independently verified? Question number 3, were supporting documents sufficiently examined? Question number 4, could auditors have sought greater confirmation from the overseas entities? And question number 5, why did annual reports continue to receive unqualified audit opinions despite questions now being raised? Part 6, what did the institutional investors miss? So institutional investors are not investigators. However, they should have looked for the potential warning signals, and there are certain areas where a deeper scrutiny would have helped. So let's discuss those areas one by one. Number one area, revenue quality should have been checked, not just revenue size. Second, cash flow generation. Was cash flow proportionate to the business scale? Third, margin analysis. Why were margins so low? Fourth, governance review. How dependent was company on one promoter? Fifth, subsidy transparency. How much independently verifiable information was available with respect to the subsidiary? So what could regulators and authorities learn here? Lesson number 1. Earlier review of complex overseas structures. Lesson number 2. More disclosure requirement for foreign subsidies. Lesson number 3. Stronger forensic review mechanisms. Lesson number 4. Greater focus on the revenue quality instead of revenue size. And lesson 5. Enhanced auditor accountability. So what is the current status? SEBI has issued an interim order. The company had denied all allegations. Therefore, investigation continues. The final conclusion have not arrived yet. Further, regulatory and legal proceedings are expected. 5 lessons for the investors. Revenue is not profit. Profit is not cash. Size is not governance. Growth is not transparency. And 5th one is, investors should not invest without understanding how the business is making money. Thank you for staying with me on such detailed analysis of Rajesh Export. Keep following me for such simple business and financial insights. Thank you.